Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 70, the podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in their own video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud and topic by topic. Day by day on YouTube with the full video releasing on Friday. Catch updates about the podcast or for other news. Give us a follow on your social media platform of choice. Listen in the description below. I'm just going to call you the Dark Fortune Memer. It's always you who gets me laughing right before I start to read the intro.
I feel like we need to mix it up every now and then. We just can't. We can't keep going there the same thing every week.
3, 2, 1. I'm not ready.
Yes, I lied.
We got Meta. We got the Resident Wild Card Mao.
Yo, he died.
I was about to say.
Yes, real life lag. Real life lag.
Yeah, he lives in a time and space 3 seconds behind everyone else. Only Mao. And
yes, only me.
Yes.
And Tetsuo probably has baby stuff to take care of.
Probably, yeah, baby. I'm sure.
Anytime it's a last minute like change of schedule, it's probably the baby.
It's prepping for the baby.
Yep. So yeah, it's post Thanksgiving. We're post Thanksgiving food boys. How was everybody's Thanksgiving? I saw you guys ate like 2 turkeys or something, Meta.
Yeah, so
well, you're on that keto, so I mean it's probably good for you.
No, I stopped keto for the holidays. Yeah, I was like, there's no way.
That's hard.
I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother trying. I mean, I've been watching it. I've tried to cut out carbs where I don't feel it necessarily. Like, I'm not like, throwing my face into like every single thing I can get into.
Mm-hmm.
Like some sort of unwashed puppy. But I am like, there's moments like where it's like, well, do I really want to eat this? And it's like, nah, I don't really need this. This is unnecessary, like carbs and whatnot. So like just the other day, I went to Burger King and I went to Burger King, but I'm like, I really don't feel like eating the buns on the burger, so I'll just order it without the buns. And then I negated it by getting large onion rings. So
yeah,
so there you go.
I kind of did that earlier. Do you guys have Glen Jean's Deli?
No, we don't have anything.
It's like it's just a chain like kind of deli. It's not even really like a deli like you think of where it's like deli meats. They do like burgers and sandwiches. They just call themselves a deli for some reason. But I got like a grilled chicken sandwich and took like 2 bites of it with a bun and went, you know what? I just don't want a bun for some reason today. Just started eating the chicken.
But that's fine. It's like that's why I exactly did what I did. So yeah. It was good. It was I like it. But yeah, no. So going to the 2 turkeys to answer your actual question now.
You guys name your turkeys, which I find interesting.
That is a Lily thing. That is her and her alone. Never happened before I knew her, and now it's become a happening thing. She apparently likes to get really intimate with the bird she's about to cook. I don't know why.
When you stuff the lemons and oranges up its ass, you gotta get.
She's like,
you gotta at least get on a first name basis with them.
Apparently, I guess so. You don't just shove things up birds that you don't know the name of. It's incredibly rude.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very, very ungentlemanly. So my parents are not together. And so I went and had 2 different Thanksgivings, and that's really just the end of the story. So we went over to my dad's place. We cooked up a bird on a grill. We brought it over because where he's at, they can't have grills, or at least he doesn't have a grill. I should say.
Yeah.
They can have grills. He doesn't have a grill big enough to cook the turkey. Mm-hmm. So we're like, I'm telling him like, Lily makes a mean turkey. Just makes a really mean one, and it really hurts. It packs of bites. So he had never had it. And I was like, just let her try it. Like, let her cook for you, because it's probably one of the best turkeys. Because originally, I'm not a big fan of turkey. I think turkey is really hard to cook. It gets too dry, and you end up just having kind of like chewy meat. And I hate that meat. I'm very particular about how you do your meat. And if your meat just becomes like some horrible pot roast stew, chewy meat, where you're like spending a half a minute trying to just get this bloody thing, chomped up enough so you can actually eat it, you've gone wrong. So I was skeptical about this. Lily learned me the ways of actually having a good turkey. And of course, my dad is blown away by it. He's like, this is like one of the best freaking turkeys I've ever had. So, and then obviously, because I had it on Thanksgiving with my dad, then I went over to my mom's place and I'm like, hey, we're going to have turkey again. So I was like, okay, well, here we go. Round 2 with the bird.
Dude, I love leftover turkey.
Turkey is great. I think turkey is great, but I think it's just essentially an upgraded version of a chicken because I think they
love
don't.
turkey.
I don't think they have that much of a difference in taste. That's just
Oh,
me.
they do for me.
Man. See,
I noticed it too.
I would take turkey over chicken every time.
Damn.
You want Turk filet, Mel?
Yes.
Fried turkey nuggets.
I will say I like dark meat though more than white meat.
No, I like white meat.
I love the flavor
I
of
love
dark
the legs
meat.
of turkey. I'm the only one in my
Yes.
family who eats them, so it's good for me.
I love dark meat. It's great. It's delicious. It has flavor, which I don't think white meat really has.
And you're eating the wrong turkey.
Nuh-uh.
Oh yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Look, Meta's taste buds are just inferior. Okay, let's just go with that now.
You know what? I'll concede that I can't taste spices for the life of me unless it's literally just covered in it. Yeah. If it's not like a half an inch thick, I just can't taste the spice.
What about your Thanksgiving, Mal? What did you do?
It was good. I went to my mom's. There was 4 of us and like enough food to feed like, I don't know, 20 people.
There always is.
That's how it always goes. Yeah.
And there's so much stuff that just getting a little bit of everything, I still walk away feeling sick.
Jeez.
But it was delicious. And I got a lot of leftovers. I only just finished it like 2 days ago.
Yep. My I finished mine literally in like a day. I didn't bring home that many leftovers though, but yeah, I went to my mom's for Thanksgiving. A fun weekend story from it's not really that fun. It's not that long. It's not much of a story, but I had a friend
here.
Yeah, I know. It's more of an anecdote.
Tell me, what else do you have to market that you don't want to sell to me?
I had a friend in town for Thanksgiving, and for my birthday, I got the new Mario Party, and we did something that you should never do, which is play the Mario Party drinking game.
Why would you? Wow.
And yeah, it went about as well as you could imagine.
I imagine it went horribly.
It's the new one, so you're using the Switch, and it's got motion controls and lots of memory games and things like that.
So, perfect game for when you're hammered.
It would probably be more funny watching it than it would be participating.
The retelling of it sounds more like shame than actual enjoyment.
I got very drunk and passed out at like 11 o'clock at night. So.
Well, I mean, honestly, that could have ended way worse.
Oh yeah,
considering drinking was involved. So
I could have woke up like a mile down the road. Who knows?
Just a mile down the road with like clothes on that you did not start in.
What happened?
Overturned car in a ditch next to you.
So that was our holiday. Now let's get into our topic, shall we? What do we got on the agenda for tonight? I think you're starting us off, Meta.
Yes, I am. My topic is what else I did when I wasn't here for that 1 week. I was in Vegas for FanFest, and it was good. I know you were just on the edge of your seat, needing to know, was it good? Did Matt have a good time? And you're absolutely right.
A lot of cool stuff that happened there.
There was actually I was right. They obviously, I'm gonna jump on a little tangent here. Can I just say that whenever you're going off to these conventions or these festivals or whatever you want to call it, cons, whenever you're going off to these things, for the love of God, have something there to actually, announce something big to announce, because that's really what people are going there for. Is they kind of want to be there in person when you drop out like your next expansion. Here's what's happening, and then like you just drop it out, whatnot. Because that's really what I kind of out there for. Which obviously that's what happened when we went out there.
Shame, BlizzCon, shame.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen with not even BlizzCon. I think there might have been other places that have done this where they've gotten like together, they've hosted something, and it's like it's not really big. It's just you hang out with people that like mine.
Yeah,
that's great. You could do that, but you really should have something else or another reason to come there than just to hang out with people. So, but I mean, like it started off great. We got on there. We got down to Vegas. But the flight in was a problem. We had a connecting flight, which I'm not a fan of connecting flights. I've never done this. Is actually my first connecting flight, but even before I did connecting flights, I was like, I just don't want to do connecting flights. I don't like them.
The concept of them.
I just everything about them, just I just don't like. Even have just 2 planes in one day, not okay. Uh, but we gotten the tickets because I have the card that I use gives free miles based on money you spend and whatnot. So it allowed us to get us a free trip down there. We effectively uh spent incredibly low amount of money, both for the tickets to get out there as well as for the hotel stay itself. Incredibly low.
Nice.
Disgustingly so. So I was very happy with that. I just wasn't happy with the fact that we had to do the connecting flight, which obviously, if I'm telling the story, it means something went wrong. And as this is want to. So we got up around like 6 or so in the morning. And we got down to, oh, I'm sorry, no, we got up at around 5. Got up around 5. We got down to the airport. Got there. We were all set up in. We got through the lines. Thanks to the card and because of being a part of the group before, we were able to skip through like the really long lines and stuff. We were to get the quicker ones. Get to our spot. We've got like an hour to burn, and we're like, oh, thank God. So we go run over, get something to eat, come back, and as we're waiting for the flight, we get an alert from on my phone that says your flight has been delayed. So I'm like, uh-oh. Because when we fly in, it was taking us to San Francisco. Which I don't understand why. I would have been glad, like, just give me a parachute. I'll just, hop out when we're flying over Vegas. But
Boom,
we're going to
in the
San
desert.
Francisco so that I can fly back over to Vegas. But we get the delay on there, and I'm like, uh-oh. So because our next flight, our connecting flight was an hour apart of time. We had an hour when we landed to get to our next flight before it took off. So the delay is an hour long. So like, we looked this up. It looks like our flight's delayed, but then the next flight also got delayed, leaving from San Francisco. They were running late, so we're like, oh, okay, we might be okay. And then we get the alert again about 30 minutes later on into this new time limit, and it says it's been delayed again. And the reason for it is because of the wildfires out in California.
Oh,
they're completely blocked down, so they're only letting so many planes come in at a time. So we're obviously freaking out a little bit. So we have to go over, get a plane adjustment and whatnot. We have to, say, like, I was like, I have to ask about, is our luggage gonna be okay? Because our luggage is like on a different flight. It doesn't actually go with you. So we're asking, is that gonna be okay? Eventually our plane gets the okay after it had been pushed back to like around 12 or so. We thought we weren't going to get into like at 6 at night, but then they pull it back down to 11 and say, no, we're going to be allowed to board. You or guys get ready to get boarded because we're going to be able to go now. Get on there. We get in there. We have to get a new flight. We get onto a 2:00 flight. We don't get to Vegas until around 4 something local time. So that was a pain in the ass. That sucked.
so a very, very long delay.
Yeah, because we were supposed to get into like Vegas at around 12 something, and we didn't get it until 4 hours later. So it was a very long delay. It kind of sucked. It was very frustrating trying to find your luggage, and then obviously going down there, you have to see if it's like has it come in yet? Are they, which thankfully it did. That was on time, in time with us. So they were able to put it through. We already got there, and we finally got to Vegas and not, which was fantastic. They immediately started off the event with dropping in the new expansion trailer, which was bloody good. I was actually very impressed with it. Very happy to see it. It looked fantastic. They dropped out the information on it. The keynote had some great stuff. Yoshi P, the executive producer for the whole series, came out on stage. He had our head translator from the English side translating whatnot, and the CEO of Square Enix came out to visit us, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was out there. He was dressed as a blue mage. They played the skit of like the tight-knit manager who doesn't want to reveal anything, and the CEO who just doesn't care and is going to say do it anyway. And they had a skit. They had a lot of fun with it. They showed off that blue mage is coming to Final Fantasy XIV. It is, however, it's kind of its own beast. They revealed that in the trailer that the Gunblade class, or at least as we're calling it right now, because it's just a class that wields a Gunblade.
Oh, yeah.
Is very much going to be a thing. Rumors are looking to be that it is very much going to be a tank. It was leaked.
Oh, really?
Yes, they originally leaked it out to be, somebody leaked it out by the name of Blue Fever. They leaked out that it was going to be a thing, so people were kind of aware of it beforehand. But
the Blue Mage does all three, doesn't it?
Blue Mage doesn't. Blue Mage is its
Okay.
own kind of beast. So I'll get into Blue
All right.
Mage because it's really one of the biggest things to talk about. And then they talked about some other things. They talked about the new patch that's going to be coming up. They told us kind of like when the expansion's coming out, which is going to be in the it's spring summertime of 2019, which is
Damn, that's
generally
pretty
what I
soon.
guess. Yeah, but I mean, I kind of guesstimated that as well. We're effectively on the last patch. Once this new patch drops for us, that's the last patch before the new expansion comes out. They'll have in between patches for it that give more content and whatnot, but it's essentially the last big patch
Yeah.
before we get into the expansion. So there is that. They also announced that they are finally going to be allowing far across world jumping. So you do not need to just simply world transfer. You can finally just visit another server, so to speak, or another server world, and you can go play with friends on there and whatnot. Do stuff.
Okay,
There's
that's cool.
limitations. Yeah, there's limitations to it. Certain things that you cannot do anymore. But it was a nice thing to see that you finally can, you don't have to play on your server. If your server's congested or whatever, you can jump over to a friend's server and play with them, or they can jump over to your server, vice versa. But it became a little bit bittersweet because we got the knowledge that both EU and America were getting new data centers, which essentially means that there is, you've got your servers and then the data center, and the servers are associated to a specific data center. Data centers you cannot jump between, which I don't understand why that tech is out there. That is very much a thing. It's accessible and doable. But that's not how they're running it. And unfortunately, it became bittersweet to know that while you can jump across servers, the server changes were posted up about who's going to what data center, and they really did split apart a lot of different groups. Which
So is it
unfortunately
like geographically, I guess? Like, are there European servers, or it's just random?
I don't know how they decided on it, but they did say that they did sit down and they really did discuss over like what servers were going to what data centers in this split. Americans data centers are going to be all in America still. It's physically they're from as far as I'm aware, they're all in the same location and the same actual physical area, but how they're breaking it down has been split apart. So
different racks or
essentially,
virtual,
yeah, that kind of
entirely.
thing.
Yeah, different physical servers.
Yeah, but they are in the same, as far as we're aware, they're all in the same actual physical building of a location. They're just not in the same rack, so to speak. And the same thing happened to EU. They were split into two. They're now got two data centers instead of one. So that was kind of just a little bit. It made the announcement of being able to like jump to a different server a little bit rough because there were a lot of people who ended up either having to lose their rating groups or they were going to be split from friends that they shared stuff with because they were no longer going to be on the same data center. That had obviously its own backlash for it. So it had its ups and downs there. Then they talked about some quest stuff for the game and whatnot, some event things they're going to be finally finishing out the last of the storyline. The other big thing that they dropped hints at heavily, but never actually confirmed, although it's confirmed as far as it matters, is that they are adding a new bunny race, specifically Vieira, which we kind of knew was going to happen eventually.
That's the Fran race, right?
Yeah, Fran. It's Fran. It's Fran's race, pretty much. We knew it was gonna happen eventually at some point. Yoshida loves Ivalice. He loves 12 and tactics and whatnot. He's just a big fan of those games in general. And there had been concept art made long ago of Vieira, so we kind of knew that this was eventually going to be a thing. It was also very heavily asked by the player base. So that was essentially confirmed. He had a Bugs Bunny shirt on at the con, and they kept focusing in on it during that part. So it was very funny, but it was very nice to
wear
see.
a different shirt before announcing something similar.
Yeah, he has a habit of wearing a shirt that hints at or in some shape or form of what is going to become next, and they generally then confirm it at the next convention or at the next fan fest, I should say, while he wears another shirt that like hints at the next thing they are going to announce at the last fan fest, since there's 3 of them. So in this case, they that was what they were hinting at, was that Vera are going to be announced and whatnot, which we will actually see a model of in the upcoming patch for the game. So one of the bigger bits of news is obviously Blue Mage, and Blue Mage has humongous mixed feelings. I shouldn't say this. I've never. I've seen communities split 50-50 before, and that's exactly what happened here. Blue Mage got announced, but they decided that they are going to call it, and what they term is called a limited class. It is essentially meant for solo play, which
Weird.
yeah, it's very weird in a modern MMO where a lot of stuff, especially in MMOs, because those kind of games are generally associated around the idea of, like, playing with other people,
Yeah.
because massively multiplayer online. But the concept is essentially that they wanted to create the Blue Mage to the best of their ability that is most iconic for the Blue Mage. And that meant giving it abilities and powers from creatures in the game, as Blue Mages are wont to do. That they don't really want to deal with the time of trying to balance around raid scenarios and whatnot. And they really wanted to focus on more making this be Blue Mage, but that means that they didn't give it any really endgame assets. So it is not at max level. It caps at level 50, whereas the current max is 70. It will go through the world. It will learn these abilities. You have hints as to where you can go to learn certain abilities, which is about 49 in total as of the moment when it releases, which it is coming out in this next patch. It is not coming out with the expansion. It is for the next patch. It's going to get more as the more patches come out and expansions are released. They're going to increase the cap. They're going to give it more abilities. You'll just keep being able to learn new moves from iconic Final Fantasy monsters that have come out through over the years. However, in order to adjust for the fact that essentially once you're done leveling, collecting all the abilities, there's really not anything to do with your Blue Mage anymore, because that's going to be the truth of it. They did create a special content piece for Blue Mage, which is called the Blue Carnival. And in this, you essentially perform an arena style fights of about 3 rounds where you have to use different combinations of abilities to try to defeat these fights and the mechanics that are involved with them. And there's apparently going to be 25 different arena matches with 3 rounds in each of them. They're going to follow more of like the iconic Final Fantasy fights. Like flying creatures are going to be weak to lightning. Fire creatures are going to have
So
weak to stuff.
the
water.
Blue Mage's end game is basically a puzzle game.
Essentially, yeah. Just using the combat system for it though, and you'll be
Right.
kind of trying to mix and match your abilities that you've learned as a Blue Mage to bring them into the fights to make it easier. Though they stated that at the end of the day, you can potentially do most of the fights with, like, you don't have to have all the abilities to do all of the fights, but it definitely makes some of them way easier. So, obviously that split the community because on one hand, that means that if you were looking forward to Blue Mage, kind of being able to raid with it and play it and with parties and whatnot, that's not really going to happen. You can't utilize the duty roulette, which is essentially just like your dungeon finder. You can't, at least you can't do that by yourself. You can go into pre-made ones, but you cannot go into the duty roulettes ones itself. You can't be randomly a Blue Mage and be put into a group. It also means that obviously, because you're not going to be level 60 or 70, you can only bring it to certain parts of the world in the game. If you try to go to like the newer content areas, you will get killed because the creatures are way higher level than you. And there's nothing to learn from them either. So there is unfortunately that. Some people love this idea though. They like the idea of solo content. They like the idea that they get to kind of just focus on something else. I am of the personal opinion that I really wish there had been the best of both worlds. I do not see why they can't do both. I understand that there's limited resources and time and balancing a rotation and creating mechanics for Blue Mage while also giving them this stuff is not an easy feat by any means. But you either get a solo content that eventually you're going to cap out on because people will eat it faster than people are going to eat this content faster than it can be created. That is just a statement of fact. And there is no time gates to this. There's no time locks to this. So people are potentially going to be able to get done with everything beyond potentially the Blue Carnival specialized fate for Blue Mages within less than a week's time, potentially in 3 to 4 days. I'm gathering. And that's going to be the end of that. There's no reason to bring it anywhere else. Once you've capped out on your Blue Mage, once you've maxed it out, you're done with it. And there's really no longevity to that class. I am glad that they did, however, keep what it is iconically. It's nice to see that the Blue Mage is going to be the Blue Mage. as players know and love it.
Yeah,
to
they
be.
could have just changed it to something else and been like, "It's the Blue Mage. Here you go."
Yep, they absolutely could have, and that was like one of the biggest things that they've talked about. They said like it's a blue mage, it's got abilities, and you go and fight the bosses, and then it pretty much just changed to be what blue mage would be, like a blue mage for Final Fantasy 14, but that wouldn't obviously hit what blue mage is. And blue mage is in and of itself, to be fair, a very very unique job and class that's been appeared in Final Fantasies before. So I can understand where they come from. I don't think it's impossible. I think personally, again, I'm going to stand by my statement of I think personally both could be done. I understand that takes work, but I think that's probably the ideal should have been reached for instead of trying to decide which way or the other.
And if they ever figure it out, they can always patch it and make that happen.
Yeah, they could change it around. We never know. The future is always open for possibilities, and that's the case. But yeah, the community's been very split on that one. I've seen people who have said they shouldn't even bother to make the class. It's pointless. There's no reason to even have it in the game anymore because you can't use it in anything except for this. And I've seen other people say this is like one of the greatest things. I've been looking for something new and different, and the Blue Mage is going to be that experience for me. I hope that with time goes on.
So what you're saying is it's a
different strokes for
fandom.
different folks.
Yes, it's almost like people might have different thoughts on things, but that's insane. I don't know why they would.
Yeah, it's fine. I see both sides of it.
Yeah, it's that's kind of really comes down to the belly aching from people who are upset about it, the happiness of people who are saying it. I mean, and not to shoot down the other people, there are some people who are saying like I really wanted this to be, or disappointed, not angry, but disappointed because they really wanted the raid with the blue mage. And I can see where other people who are like saying like it never should be made for raid at all. That's a dumb idea and whatnot. It should not be made as an end game. Blue mage is perfect the way it is. Anybody who says otherwise is wrong. Obviously you've got the flip on different sides saying like the other way would have been wrong completely and it's stupid and dumb.
I don't even care. Give me that Gunblade class. That's where
that's where one of my raid members is like, so they're very excited about that.
I need to get through Stormblood before that comes out.
Yep. It'll be coming out with the next. The details for that will drop at the European Fan Fest, and then the rest of it's all going to drop at the Japanese Fan Fest, which are next year, I think in February and March or April. I think it's February and March because generally European and Japan are never far apart because they're almost timed to drop the expansion at that point.
Give me that Keyblade class.
Give me that Keyblade class. God, the Sora class.
I want to be Goofy and Donald. No.
You wanna give Donald all of your potions so you can burn them right away.
Give me the Noctis
and
class.
Ethers.
The Noctis.
Warp strike.
Yep. I just want to teleport.
Speaking of, there is apparently going to be a Final Fantasy 15-14 crossover, but only for the 15 side. It's happening.
That's weird.
We haven't seen any details on 14 for anything coming to 14 for it, but 15.
That's really weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. They're getting a quest line.
Considering one of those is dead.
I know, right? I was like, this is trying to perform CPR on a corpse that's been buried about 2 years back. Yeah, it's coming out. 15 is going to have a whole patch for it. They're going to get cool outfits. They're going to get a whole quest line and whatnot done for it. They're going to have a unique fight for it. They're getting a lot of cool stuff. 14, nothing. As far as we've seen, there is nothing coming for 14, which I think is.
But I want to fight Arden.
I want to fight Arden. Actually, if you want to know,
make him a fate.
If you want to know something, because I know you just love 15 and it's the best game.
It is.
They just revealed one of the characters from the storyline in 14, and I swear to God, it's just fucking Arden. It's just Arden. Like he showed up, and I'm like,
Arden.
It's not Catboy Arden. He's still human, but he showed up. I'm like, I looked over the lid, like it's fucking Arden. So that would happen in the last patch, just storyline is for the ending part of the patch. So, but otherwise, it was great. We had a good time. We had a chance to play a new combat. We got to play some of the new events that they had there, as well as with the upcoming battle, special battle that we're going to get in the future. So that was very fun. We got to fight Yojimbo, who turned out to be actually Gilgamesh in disguise, which was really weird. because I was actually really psyched to go fight Yojimbo because I think I was like, oh, I get to fight an actual like summon. That's really cool. I get to fight like a primal summon and whatnot in the game. And then it's like, no, it is actually Gilgamesh. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Traveling the
I wanted to fight you,
multiverse.
dog.
I didn't want to fight you.
It said
I'm
everyone
upset.
who had to fight Gilgamesh in any Final Fantasy game.
just-
I didn't
yeah,
want to
you
fight
know.
you.
I didn't want to fight you. What are you doing here? He's like, He's like, this is from the strongest of swords and shit. So he showed up. He did all his Gilgamesh thing, and I was like, you're the worst, Gilgamesh. Get out of here. I was very upset. I wanted to fight a dude and his dog. So I was really hoping because I was expecting like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking Yojimbo. He's gonna throw money at our face. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I was expecting something, but no, that's not how it works. He's not a cool fight. It was just
Me.
Gilgamesh. Old man Gilgamesh, and he would
What's
have
the,
got away with it too.
So what's the story for the next expansion going to? Have they said a lot about at least where it's going to focus on?
Well, yes, they kind of given some focus on for what it is. So we know for a fact that with the expansion,
Can I be a Garlean guy yet?
No, I don't think Garleans are going to be available. For a number of reasons. No, they have explained what's going to happen. We do know what's going to go on. Is that essentially, our characters are going to become the Warrior of Darkness, not the Warrior of Light anymore. We're doing a
all
flip
the
flop.
edge.
Literally
all
all the edge. All.
Hey,
the
it's a
edge.
nod to Final Fantasy 3. Original.
The expansion is called Shadowbringer, so there you go, Obs. It's your expansion. It was designed specifically for you.
All the edge.
It is as far as we can tell. It is going to be involving the. I mean, you won't really know the stuff unless you played the game, but it's going to be involving the bad guy shadowy group, the Asians, and totally not the Nothings and the bad guys from Kingdom Hearts. Definitely not that. So there's the teaser trailer. I've linked it. You can see it out. It's really good.
I didn't watch the actual teaser trailer for the expansion. I just watched the Blue
really
Mage
good.
one.
It's really good. I would absolutely.
Yeah, it's really
recommend it.
cool.
I see a samurai.
They always have cool trailers.
Yeah, and that's not the full
Makes
trailer.
me want to play, but
Yeah, it's not the full trailer. They stated that is just a teaser trailer. There is more that's going to be coming with the next one, so we'll get the full trailer, which they did last FanFest as well. They gave us only a part of it and then showed the rest off either at the Japanese or European.
the one with the monks fighting.
Yeah, the monks fighting, and then it turned over to the samurai and whatnot, stereotypically cutting a bullet in half before knocking his opponents down in an explosion of energy.
I'm surprised it wasn't a long
Which
sword.
everybody cheered for and thought it was great, and I'm like, absolutely. How can you not love that? It's a trope for a reason. So I'm sure whatever happens with the rest of the trailer, we're also going to be all excited for and whatnot. But essentially, from what we understand of the story, and it's been hinted at this for a while. In the beginning of the game, you were given the blessing of light from Heidelin herself, who is essentially a being of all pure light. But as the game has gone on, as the story has continued, as more has been told, we've kind of been shown or told in subtle, but
She's kind of a bitch, isn't she?
not a bitch, but that Heidelin is pure light, and light doesn't exactly mean good. We learn about the fact that our world has been fragmented into 13 pieces, and you're playing on the Prime world, the one that the fragmentations all come from, which is where Heidelin hides out at. And at the opposite end of the spectrum is Zodiark, who is the warrior, essentially, of darkness and whatnot. I'm sorry, we're in the middle, not at the end where Heidelin is, but there's these individuals who come in part of the storyline, which I believe you should have had already if you've gotten through all of Heaven's Word. Who are called the Warriors of Darkness. And when they show up, they are essentially you, but from another world. And they explained in no uneasy terms that essentially they kept fighting and they won and they won and they won again. And their world is still going to die because the light is quite literally burning and scorching it into glass.
Wow.
So they come to your world in hopes to get in contact with Heidelin in order to find salvation for theirs. Which kind of tells us that the light is not good. It's not good. There needs to be a sense of balance, which is a problem because if you have too much light, your world will also die. So we believe that this storyline is essentially going to bring that to the forefront and explain why the Asians have been doing what they're doing, why we continue to have to fight off these dark forces. What happens if we beat all the dark forces? And more importantly, how do we bring balance back to everything? Because that is the most important thing. Which is what we believe the real theme of the game is about balance and ending this astral umbral eras of cycle where some giant calamity happens, everything's okay. Some giant calamity happens, everything's okay. We need to bring everything back to balance. And that's what we believe the story is going to take us with the Shadowbringers, which is why we become the Warriors of Darkness, because we realize that if we continue to fight for the light, we're going to actually kill our world. So that is what we think is going to happen. We have yet to see, but I'm looking forward to it because we're getting pretty close to what is essentially going to be the end of the Heidelin storyline, which Yoshi did state was going to be about 10 years long with an expansion. So this expansion, the next expansion, and potentially the next expansion after the one coming out, Shadowbringers, or the expansion after the one after Shadowbringers, will be the ending storyline for Heidelin. And then at what happens with Final Fantasy 14 after that, we don't know. So, but otherwise, we had a great time. There was good events. As always, Vegas is expensive, but it has tons.
Did you eat some good buffet food?
We did. The buffet food was great. Although I will say, and oh god, I shouldn't swing out here, but there was a buffet at the place we stayed at. It was not that great. I was a little bit disappointed with it. Every other place was okay, but the buffet, I was just like, this is just okay.
My bosses were in Vegas the same weekend that you got. Everybody's going to Vegas.
Everybody's going to Vegas.
went to Vegas. My bosses went to Vegas. You guys went to Vegas.
When are we going to
And
Vegas?
here I am,
sitting
here in cold ass Tennessee, 30 degrees outside. I don't know, man. I don't know when we're going.
That sounds like a thing you need to fix, bro.
I know, right?
Absolutely need to fix. But yeah, so that was our time over there. We got some cool loot stuff that comes, like swag and whatnot. We got some cool swag. We got some cool stuff from winning certain events and whatnot. So we were able to come home with some really cool, neat things. Overall, it was a good, fun time. 10 out of 10. I will probably do it again in 2 years' time, if life willing, allowing me to do so. So
life finds a way, Meta.
Life finds a way. So
as the great Dr. Dinosaur said.
So, Dr. Dinosaur, Jesus.
I don't remember the character's name.
I don't know where that's going. Dr. Dinosaur. Oh, you're gonna have to watch Jurassic Park again, Obs.
Oh no.